Welcome, welcome, Space Cadets. Let's get started. So I had a thought. A chaotic one. What if the Winchester boys, yes, those Winchesters, entered the Heartwell Hymn, my comic world? And what if they weren't the heroes? Because in my universe, monster hunting is illegal, and that changes literally everything. But before we get into it, I need to set one rule. For this discussion, we are only talking about seasons 1 through 5 of Supernatural. And look, no tea, no hate, no shade to the later seasons. But for me, my personal oneself, that era of Supernatural where it was like just really about hunting monsters was the best for me. And I loved it. There's nothing wrong with the later seasons. I don't really they're not memorable enough for me. But seasons 1, I'll stretch it out to 7. Seasons 1 through 7 were like peak television. So yeah, that's where the story shines the brightest for me. The character interactions, the intrigue, the slow unraveling of heaven and hell, and most importantly, the tension of two brothers who would sacrifice everything for one another. Now I hear you. Mocha, what are you on about? I didn't know you watched Supernatural. What? You like Supernatural? Yes. Yes, Billy Bob Thornton. Yes, Billy Bob Jenkins. Yes, Billy the Third. I love Supernatural. Supernatural, aside from Criminal Minds, at my young, very impressionable age, was my favorite People TV show. Probably should not have been. I wasn't a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer girl. I wasn't really into Buffy that much, but I did start recently watching it, and if I would have sat down and got with it the way I was supposed to, Buffy would be very much aligned with Supernatural for me. But Supernatural was, I'm gonna be a little vulnerable here. Supernatural was the show that I used to connect with my older sister. And back in the day, it really was like we were Sam and Dean. And that feeling of seeing yourself in a character, regardless of race, gender, everything, you saw the core of your person in someone else. And it was like, oh shoot, that kind of hit though. So, regardless of the story elements that I don't particularly agree with anymore, or too much care for, Supernatural will always have the biggest slot of real people TV in my heart. I don't really care about watching humans do human stuff. I like watching the cartoons be drawn and animate and do fun things. 2D is my favorite medium. But real people are fun too when they're either being cops or when they're being spiritual detectives. So yeah, Supernatural is and was a big part of my life growing up, so I really feel like this is a big culmination story-wise, because there's even some lines that I straight up have deconstructed and put into my own comic, and it means a lot to me, this story. So doing this little test of how Sam and Dean would react in my universe, it's fun. Okay, this is very much self-indulgent. Nobody asked for this, but I'm gonna give it to you. So, before we drop them into THH, let's talk about who they are. Supernatural ran for 15 seasons. It follows two brothers, Dean Winchester and Sam Winchester. They were raised by a father obsessed with revenge after their mother was killed by a demon. From childhood, they were trained to track, research, exercise, and kill. They operate under a moral framework built on trauma. If it's a monster, it's dangerous, and we need to kill it. And for the most of their universe, that's very much true. Vampires prey on humans, demons possess and torture, and angels unfortunately manipulate. Their world reinforces a binary system. Humans equal victims, monsters equal threats. Now imagine you take that very narrow worldview and you place them in a universe where that binary doesn't exist. So, for those of you who have no idea what the Heartwell Hymn is, it is my comic series, the series I'm working on that is not yet released, but I do have a few lore videos up if you are interested. I shall put them in the link in the description so you can go check those out if you really do care enough. But the Heartwell Hymn happens within a world where monsters are not hidden, they are integrated. Here is how it works. Species are legally recognized. There are civil protections against specific species and things of that nature. There are registrates, and there are interspecies agreements. And there is the overarching, basically the police within this universe, the DCMD, which regulate and maintain and detain bad people within a specific nature of supernatural conflict. So, violence is not species-based. We're not racist over here. It's behavior-based. And because of that, pretty much anybody can be a criminal and be an outlaw. A Vesperite who feeds illegally is arrested. A malignant engaged in contact fraud, persecuted. A celestial destabilizing reality, contained and detained. But no one is exterminated for existing. So freelance hunters who are typically human and hurt in the past by the quote-unquote bad guys are illegal because they undermine legal structures, escalate tension, risk civil unrest, and reinforce prejudice. And THH, systematic collapse doesn't start with monsters, it starts with ideology. This segment is very much like an egg on a burger. You don't need it, but it is a bit indulgent. It's a bit creamy and delicious, and you quite enjoy a fried egg on your burger. It's very obvious why Sam and Dean would be antagonists in this world. They are monster hunters that deeply believe, especially in later seasons, that sometimes you just gotta be killing them. They just do be godding to die. However, I do feel like later on in the series, there's a lot more gray areas within their hunting, and they do a lot less actual hunting and more like systematic investigations. They kind of become like detectives. Supernatural detectives. But yeah, if we are still talking underneath the constraint of seasons 1 through 5, which we definitely are, this very much strong right and wrong is very much rooted in especially Dean's character. Now Sam, he saw reason sometimes. He saw, maybe we could help this monster instead of killing this monster. And Dean was like, no Sam, it's a monster. We're gonna kill it. So here's where things would begin to get a bit uncomfortable, because Sam and Dean wouldn't just twirl their mustaches and stand in the back of the shadows and laugh maniacally. They wouldn't be villains per se. They would be disruptive forces. They are unlicensed people using lethal force and causing civil unrest and interfering with federal operations. Federal operations. The DCMD is an organization of people who are supposed to handle these threats, and they would be trying to do their work and be doing it wrong and badly. Now, that's all illegal stuff. Socially, however, they would reinforce anti-monster sentiment. They would destabilize a very fragile peace. A very fragile peace. This peace is only maintained by very much soul-crushing rules and laws and regulations that Beastal, Vesperite, Shades, and Necromancers only adhere to because Earth is kinda cool sometimes, and they don't have to always be in darkness, and can enjoy the beach. So bringing in two hunters from a different world where monsters are considered inherently bad, you would get very much... It's giving racism. It's giving racism. And you know what? Sam and Dean aren't racists. They're more so speciesist, if anything, so it'd be like, well, I don't want to kill you because you're Asian. I want to kill you because you're a kitsune, okay? And you eat people. So come here. And this ideology that Sam and Dean would come into this world having would reinforce actual monster hunters within the story to continue to do their monster hunting. And in fact, seek out Sam and Dean to continue helping them do that, because Sam and Dean would get so well versed in the lore. They would understand other animal and creatures within the story so well that they would become efficient hunters within the Heartwell Hymn. They would become very efficient hunters within the Heartwell Hymn. And I think, let me not spoil that segment yet. Pause, we're gonna take a little pause on that thought right there, and we're just gonna carry on with how they would socially freak up this situation. So yeah, as I was saying, they would inspire copycat vigilantism, and they would just incite such chaos upon this world. They would incite such chaos upon this world. Like, imagine Dean seeing like a registered Vesperite teacher, and he's just like, this man goes home and drinks human blood, and you guys are okay with that? And everyone's like, yeah, we give it freely. And he'd be like, this world is awful. This world is sick. This world is touched in the head. And like, imagine Sam researching like demon contracts only to find that they don't exist, and the ones that are kind of resemblant of what a demon contract would be in the Heartwell Hymn are like legally binding under like laws within the DCMD, and you can't really do that within this world. And he's like, so what's going on here? Like, what are these world laws? What are these rules? Like, why is this such, like, a ginormous pile of gray area? But yeah, Dean's first instinct would be to kill first, and the DCMD's response to Dean's behavior would be to detain and investigate him. It would be a Special Agent Hendrickson all over again. Like, it would be Gene. It would be Gene instead. Gene and Dean. Gene and Dean butting heads, high key. Character interactions with that would be so fun. But yeah, considering all of that, which is, like, honestly a very linear thought process, you would fall naturally down this, like, thought process if you were to think about the constraints of my world and the constraints of Sam and Dean's character and be like, oh yeah, I can see how this would be very messy. And that's what creates the tension. Okay, so now that we have set the stage for all of this information, let's talk about how Sam and Dean would handle this world, how they would fit in or lack thereof fitting in, and what would happen particularly to a specific character within this world of understanding that maybe not all monsters are monsters. Sam and Dean were raised inside of generational trauma. Their identity is built on protection through violence, sacrifice through bloodshed, and moral clarity through enemy definition. And that, frankly, is a very common theme with hunters within their world. You don't choose to be a hunter. Hunting chooses you. And it feels like a twisted calling in a way. And there are very few gray areas between monsters and humans, and everything is very much clean cut and clear from a hunter's perspective. Monster bad, kill monster. Monster exist, monster need not exist. But in THH, destabilizing that clarity would mean to meet a malignant being raising a child, a Vesperite working in an emergency medicine office, a Celestial filing corporate reports, and you get this sudden feeling that the enemy has a face. I feel like Sam would definitely question, and Dean would resist. Dean would resist. He'd be like, Sammy, they're still monsters. Look at them. Any moment, this guy stops filing the taxes and he's gonna start eating someone's face off. We have to do something about this. The humans in this world are going to be destroyed if this continues. If this system even bends a little bit, not breaks, if the system bends a bit, we're like, these people are done. We have to do something about this. And I feel like Sam would question and Dean would resist. And the bridge between these two characters, or maybe the catalyst for them developing some sort of animosity toward one another in this world, would be Demi. For both of them, Demi would be the fracture point, because Demi believes power without restraint becomes tyranny. He would ask them, if you kill everything that once hurt you, what happens when the world changes? And that's a philosophical knife to the both of them. It depends on the character how much that knife cuts. Now, here's a thought I've had for literal years. Ever since I finished season 5 of Supernatural almost 7 years ago or so, Demi and Sam have been very familiar and similar characters in retrospect to me. In that rabbit hole, with the rabbit hole I went down, I had the thought that Dean wouldn't really like Demi very much. And I have a few reasons why. So, let me paint you a picture. We have Gordon Walker. This guy was essentially like a crazier version of Blade for Supernatural. He was a vampire hunter, and he was very good at what he did, but he couldn't see the gray areas. And he kind of foiled Dean in a way, in the fact that the gray areas didn't exist so long as pain was being inflicted in the world that they lived in. You could not justify a vampire drinking blood if it meant taking a human life. And Sam very much was like, okay, you think this Gordon guy is cool, yeah, but I feel really bad about killing that vampire lady who just pleaded for her life. And Dean's like, well, she's a vampire, so she's dead now, and that means we just get to keep on hunting, Sammy, let's go do it. And Sam is just like, bro, you're not seeing it, you don't see. With that picture painted, it allows us to see that within Sam's ideology, he could very much survive in this world. And for Dean, that would be the scariest part. Sam and Demi share some very striking parallels. Both of them carry immense empathy for others. Both of them believe deeply that protecting others is worth personal sacrifice. And both of them were manipulated by powerful supernatural forces when they were very young. And maybe, most importantly, both of them struggle with the fear that there's something inside of them that might be monstrous. For Sam, that fear is tied to the demon blood Throughout seasons 1 through 5 of Supernatural, we watch Sam constantly wrestle with this question of, what if I'm not fully human? And what if the thing that makes him so powerful is also the thing that makes him dangerous? That fear incites very much a big part of their problems, Sam and Dean's problems, their interactions, their arguments very much come from the fact that Sam's like, Dean, there's something wrong with me. And Dean's like, in the beginning specifically, like we're talking like season 2, he's like, no, Sam, there's nothing wrong with you. You've always been weird. Haha, cracking jokes and making light of the situation. When later down the line, we get to see how Dean actually feels about this concept in season 3 of that, yeah, maybe there is something wrong with my brother, but he's still my brother, and I'm going to love him. Now imagine setting the situation up of Dean watching Sam meet someone like Demi, someone who is powerful, someone who is compassionate, someone who has also survived manipulation and control by supernatural forces, and someone who understands that power and nature can feel like questions you have to ask yourself to understand what's going on within your own body and mind. I believe Dean would notice these similarities immediately, probably even before Sam would, and that would terrify him. Because Dean's greatest fear has never been losing Sam physically, it's been losing him morally. Dean has spent his entire life trying to protect Sam from the darkness he believes is inside him, and he's already seen what happens when someone convinces Sam that darkness can be used for good. That's exactly what happened with Ruby. Ruby didn't just tempt Sam with power. She reframed his identity. She told him that the demon blood wasn't something to fear, it was something to embrace, something he could use to save people, to stop demons, to make the world a better place, and Sam believed her. Sam believed her so much. And he also was underneath that hot lady Jedi mind control, mind trick game, but still, like, and he fell for it. Like, even before he fell for her, he fell for it. And although Sam believed her, it wasn't because he wanted power, but because he wanted to do good. Sam has always been a tragic character, and he was very much a tragic character during those seasons. His intentions were always rooted in compassion, but that compassion became the doorway throughout the series which he was manipulated. So when Dean sees Sam connecting with someone like Demi, his mind would immediately go back to Ruby, because Dean's perspective is that he would see very similar patterns within Demi's character in correlation to Ruby's. He's another supernatural figure, another philosophical conversation about power would be had between the two characters, another person telling Sam that the darker parts of himself might not be something he has to destroy. But the difference between Ruby and Demi is actually, I wouldn't say profound, but it is, very telling when you look at the two characters as a whole. Ruby wanted Sam to use his darkness. Demi would want Sam to understand it. Demi understands what happens when you try to lock parts of yourself away. He is a survivor of a cult that tried to control, define, and weaponize him. He understands how dangerous it is to take emotions, instincts, hungers, fears, and shove them into a box labeled as forbidden. Because when people do that, those parts don't disappear, they fester, they mutate, they come out in the ways that are harder to control. So if Demi spoke to Sam about the darkness inside him, it wouldn't be about exploring it recklessly, it would be more so about removing the fear around it, about asking the harder questions. What does this part of you actually represent? Is it anger? Is it pain? Is it survival? Demi would see Sam not as a potential monster, but as someone who has never been allowed to fully understand himself. And the truth is, they would probably resonate with each other very quickly, because they also share another parallel that runs pretty deep within their core personalities and ideology throughout their series, whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. Both of them grew up under an incredibly powerful father figure. Whether John Winchester was a good dad or not is very much questionable. It's very much implied within some flashbacks that John was a drunk. And some people take that way left field as like, he was abusive and he beat Dean to death and he blah 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 and a blah blah blah. But I never noticed Dean flinching when John reached out for him. I'm more than certain John was just very harsh with his words, which could be considered emotional abuse. But we're not going to go down the John Winchester freaking rabbit hole right now. We're talking about Demi and Sam and their parallels. But I will say, John Winchester isn't the worst dad in TV history, but he's not the best. However, he was a very extremely powerful figure in Sam's life, and a figure that even turned against him at some point. I will say, John loved his sons. I think, personally, I know this is very much debatable, and I've seen so many Instagram comments, so many YouTube comments about how John Winchester was the worst dad ever and he should be burned at the stake. But I do think that in his own twisted, traumatized after losing his wife way, he very much loved his sons. He was just extremely militant. He was very much a militant father, and that was like very much expressed in the way that he understood hunting. Hunting was like a battlefield, and you had to be the quickest soldier. So that very much resonated with both his children and the way that they express love and the way that they interact with each other. I said I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole, but still, I don't think John Winchester was the worst father, and you can also burn me at the stake or whatever, but I do see, especially in season 1 and 2 when they show his character and who he was, I really do feel like he loved his boys. Another tangent I said I wasn't going to talk about, but I will. I absolutely despise the way that they disparaged Mary's character. I don't like the way she turned out in season 14, 13, 15? Whenever they brought back Mary, whenever they resurrected her, and she just didn't feel like... Okay, so I get it. In the beginning of the series, we are introduced to this very idealized version of her. But even when Sam and Dean go back in time, you are able to get an idea of the kind of person she was. Whether she changed with time or not depends on how her marriage went with John, but I do not think that her core personality would change in between life and death so quickly. So, in Supernatural, there's a heaven and there's a hell. And in Supernatural Heaven, you get to relive your best hits. That's how Dean coined it, and because I recently rewatched season 5, I said it the same way. Anyway, silence, okay, silence. Anyway, so basically, I don't think that Mary would have came back being that way. I don't know. I did not like the way they handled that. I did not care for the way that they handled that. I really thought that we were going to get some healing. And the thing is, when Dean confronts her in her own mind, and she's choosing to stay in the past and not live with her present, of actually currently now in this time protecting her sons the way that she said she would, and he's like, I've hated you this whole time, and I'm like, dang, yo, they're dropping some bangers here. That was one of the greatest speeches ever. I don't feel like that was necessary. I feel like Amara really was the devil for that. What the heck? I'm gonna give you back something you want too, big boy. Here you go. Since I have such a big crush on you, you can have your mommy back. I do think the way that she resettled into life in the future was really, like, I guess that was good, but something about her character, it felt like she came back with no soul. And because I vaguely remember what season, like 13 through 15 were about, I don't know if that was the case or whatever, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if she came back with no soul, or if, like, they just, like, sucked the warm, loving, motherly out of her, and she was, like, this dry girl boss, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I know Dean saw her one way, and Sam didn't get to see her at all in a sense, but from what we saw through Dean's eyes and through them going back in time and really, like, digesting the kind of person she was, I was expecting an adorable, doting but strong mom, and I didn't get that, and it was so disappointing, and I don't know if that was the point. And maybe what we got to see was like a snapshot of her in her best moments, but like, oh no, I can't imagine. No, I didn't like it, okay? That's my rant over. Back to the story. Back to talking about Sam and Demi's personality similarities and whatever the junk I was talking about. As I was saying, Sam and Demi have very similar father dynamics, but not really at the same time. Demi's dad is a helicopter parent. Lucy and Heartwell will not let this man do anything without him knowing. If Demi wants to fart, Lucy and Heartwell will know. But John Winchester, on the other hand, was very similar in that way. Like, he was very overprotective helicopter parent over Sam, but at the same time, it felt like he resented the boy in a way. He's like, you know what? You're the reason my wife is dead. For both their parents, their love comes with control. And Demi would understand that so deeply within Sam's character, and he would understand it because he's experienced it. It's the kind of love that says, I'm protecting you, but also quietly says, I'm afraid of what you might become. And both Lucien and John Winchester share that similarity. And that would read in both of their characters. And I believe they'd be able to see that in each other. You know, you can tell another person who has daddy issues, you're like, oh, I know which one of your parents messed you up. Now, all of those reasons come back to why Sam and Demi would probably gravitate toward each other, not because they both want to explore the darkness within themselves, but because they both understand what it feels like to live under the pressure of someone else's shadow and their fear. And exactly, coming back to Dean, coming back full circle to Dean, that is exactly why Dean would panic. Because Dean's perspective is that this connection wouldn't look like healing. It would look more like, oh, he's manipulating you. He's trying to get you to be a monster like him. Don't go down that road, Sam. You know where it leads. We had to deal with Ruby. Like, have you not learned your lesson? Have you not learned your lesson? For Dean, it would feel like history was repeating itself, and the last time Sam was convinced by a monster that the monster within himself could be controlled, the world almost ended. So the real question is, if hunters entered a world where monsters were citizens, would they change, or would they break the system trying to protect it? And that's really what I really exist for. I really like this kind of hypothetical because it really like pushes the ideas of your own world, and you have to kind of like develop as you go in a way. Because like if you're like, okay, say you take a character from a show you really like and you put them in your world within the constraints of your world, and they have knowledge of their world in the past, right? Like how would they react to being in your world? And like making those things is like really fun. Like reading those hypotheticals, you can actually expand your own universe so much. And I like Supernatural a lot, and Supernatural has helped me shape my own story so much, so I decided to do that with this video. I had a lot of fun. This was really fun for me. This drawing was really fun. This drawing was super fun. I struggled so hard to get Sam's facial features, and I really thought I'd struggle with Dean's because he has more of like a slender face, and I don't know, something about his face I felt like was going to be more difficult, but it's Sam because he's more squared and he has like a specific eye shape, and I didn't know how to like characterize that, like how to put it in my style at first. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this video turned out. And if you know any more like world crossovers that would be good with the Heartwell Hymn, like please put them in the comments. Tell me how you like this video, this style of video. And as always, stay creative, stay safe, and have a blessed rest of your day, my friends. Bye bye.